Do not give up on your legal status. Many people fail to respond to RFE or file an application before the deadline. This is why we offer a strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost to you. Not everyone qualifies. First, you need to speak with our CARES team. We receive many requests, so we recommend you answer a few questions on our website, greencardguys.com. Our mission is to help people live and work in America legally. Go ahead and subscribe below and follow and share. Talk to you soon. What's happening, y'all? Today, we're going to talk about the new bill that's passed the House, okay? The House of Representatives. And you want to be careful of this one, folks. Let me turn on my light right here. All right, the House passed a stringent DUI proposal against immigrants specifically. So stay tuned. My name is John Ting. I practice immigration law in all 50 states of America, helping you solve your immigration problem or maybe prevent that problem from happening in the first place. How are y'all doing? Welcome, welcome. If you're new to the channel, please know this. I try to answer questions towards the end of the topic, or, when I talk about my topic, then I'll answer questions. I'll also try my best to answer it in the order received. So I get it. Some of y'all copy and paste several times. Please know you don't have to do that. I will try my best to answer all questions possible in about 30 minutes, okay? And if I don't, please come back tomorrow. I'll be on live again. All right. I was wondering why it looks a little dark. I got some new glasses that has some transitions. All right. So today, I got to share with y'all about this new bill that passed the House that is against foreign nationals, against immigrants. Okay. So I'm going to tell y'all right now, the tip is if you're going to go out to drink and alcohol, or you're just going out with your buddies, and those buddies are almost like your college buddies, and you don't intend to drink at all, just take Uber. Because, especially with the old college buddies, you're probably going to have a drink anyway. And that one drink might lead to 2 drinks and then 3 drinks. If you have no status in the United States, or even if you are a resident. Now, of course, if you're a U.S. citizen also, just take Uber anyway, or Lyft, whatever all those app cabs, whatever you call it. Or the old school way, just call one up. The thing is, it's not worth getting a DUI or DWI. Now, of course, if you're an immigrant, whether you have residency or not, you really need to pay attention to this, okay? Because there seems to be steam. It's steamrolling. This is going to possibly pass the Senate, in my opinion, because it passed the House. Let me share some data, some information, so you can know I'm talking about the real thing here. Okay. I'm not making this up. Now, I'll try to drop these links in the description box of the show. It's a lot easier on YouTube and Facebook. So TikTok, I'm not able to share it. But here, take a look at this, okay? This bill is called 6976, House of Representatives Bill, Protect Our Communities from DUI Acts. Now, you might think, well, why would they have this? Think about it, folks. No one wants to get in a situation where you got a DUI or DWI, and then one of your family members got injured or killed, right? So it's completely understandable that they would do something like this. So a lot of people would think, oh, be afraid, be afraid. Look, just take a more proactive approach and call Uber or Lyft. Or maybe just don't go out to drink at home. I mean, because a lot of, some people might talk about this on social media and say, oh, be worried. You should be worried in the sense that you're proactive, okay, to prevent the situation from happening in the first place. Don't let things happen to you, okay? Be proactive, because here's the deal, folks. When you get to practically speak about this, even if you're a resident, you get pulled over. I've known of people. I was in a fraternity in college. I know how this works, the different scenarios. I've even known some fraternity brother, I believe it's fraternity brother. They drove all the way to their house, and this is in Texas, and they got pulled over at their driveway. Even though they got to the house, the cop still arrested them because technically you're drinking while intoxicated or under influence, even though you got to your house. And of course, not of course, my friend or fraternity brother is a citizen, but still, what if you're a resident or didn't have status at all? This is what happens. You get taken to county or city jail situation, okay, detained, and eventually you're going to get transferred to ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. These days, depending on the county, maybe Harris County in Texas, some more, I guess you could call Democratic run or liberal. Some people call liberal or conservative. They just might release you. They might. I've heard of that situation. But look, especially if you're in a rural or conservative county, you do not want to take a chances on this. Okay. All right. So, what's the consequence, John? That's going to potentially happen. Let me share my screen again. All right. So, the summary here is that to summarize as quickly as possible, this bill, it's not law yet. It's just a proposal. It did pass the House. So now it's going to move to the Senate. Number one, there's the summary here. This bill makes driving while intoxicated or impaired a ground for number one, barring a non US national, so meaning an alien, they call alien immigrant under federal law from admission into the United States or deporting an individual. It further goes to say the bar to admission, meaning to get residency, shall apply to an individual who has been convicted of this offense or has admitted to having committed the acts which constitute the elements of the offense. Okay? You might wonder, well, what does that mean, John? Admitted? It means a plea bargain. Okay? So even if your criminal defense attorney says, "Oh, just sign a plea bargain. It's no big deal." It's no big deal. Yeah, you just get probation. Yeah, it's going to be a big deal. It still is a big deal. Okay? So you really need to be careful of that because not every criminal defense attorney is connected with a immigration lawyer. And even when they do both, I'd be hesitant to hire them because just so much, as you can see here, I'm just updating y'all real time as possible. I mean, this bill passed last looks like in late January. So I'm a little late to share this with you, right? But then again, think about this. It's what's it called? There's just a lot of information. So, and I only practice immigration law, right? It's a lot to keep updated. I see comments from all different platforms. I will get to y'all soon. Um, but yeah, what else I want to share with you on the screen here, if you can see it. Let me put it back up there. Um, the vote. Y'all need to know the vote. There was a roll call vote, and it went. Looks like it passed 274 yays to 150 nays. That's significant, right? That's pretty significant. So clearly, some Democrats voted for this, right? So that's what I'm saying. I mean, no one likes, if you've heard of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, no one, doesn't matter about your status, no one likes drinking and driving because that can literally affect someone's life. So it's totally understandable that doesn't matter your political party, that someone, a politician, your elected official would vote for this. All right. And some of y'all don't know this, even like not taking the COVID vaccine or a specific vaccine is a grounds of inadmissibility. All right. So hopefully that helps you understand a little better. Because some of y'all might think, oh, how come Democrats voted for this? No one wants to be killed by a drunk driver. So get it together and call Uber or something or Lyft. Now, I'm not going to go into the full text here. I'm sure there's some questions about it being retroactive or not. Um, I didn't see language about that. I control find that. Um, and it didn't pop up. Now, of course, this is not the final bill. It's gone to the Senate. Let's see here. The action items here. Yeah, actions. Okay. So the actions you can see on Facebook and YouTube that the most recent action is as February 5th. It's now March 4th. February 5th, the Senate chamber received it. Okay. So no vote is scheduled right now. But what it usually does is go through committee. And then after committee, if it passes committee, then it's going to go to the full Senate, okay, for a vote. So still have some time there, but I just want to get y'all updated to be aware of this, okay? Even if this law doesn't pass, please, if y'all know you might go hang out with your college buddies or coworkers, call Uber or Lyft. All right. So, anyways, let me answer some questions. All right, let me switch over here. Okay, Instagram. Someone says the family visa group is scrapped. I don't know what you mean with visa group. Your follow-up comment, the you feel the U.S. prefers illegal immigrants to legal immigrants. Um, I don't. I can see why you say. I can see why some people say that, but not really. I mean, there's something called humanitarian parole. Depends what you consider illegal immigrants. Um, People can't have health care. I don't know what. I mean, you might be like in tech. I mean, here in Texas, right? So I see news about New York, and they have a law. This New York State law has something where they have to help people. Doesn't matter the status, and they got to scrap that law. They got to change it. So maybe what you think going on in like California, New York, is why you think like U.S. prefers illegal immigration, but no, there's no preference as a um, federal law does not in any way favor illegal immigration. Um, I'm not really sure if that helps you. All right, so let's see. You got some questions here on other platforms. Danny asked on YouTube, is there any progress on processing times for marriage cases? Marriage cases in 2024 is still pretty early, but fortunately, we have had fairly quick approvals in 2024. You know, in 2023, there were cases approved in like 2 months that were filed in 2023. So for folks that filed before that, y'all probably frustrated and said, "What the hell's going on?" Like I filed before that, and it's still being approved. So our cases that were filed before 2023 are finally some of them are finally getting approved in the past 2 months. So that's great news. But I can't say if you filed in 2024, I can't give you any kind of it's still too early. It's only March 4th. So but I suspect at least until when Biden is still in office, they will continue with this process. And in fact, USCIS is pretty freaking excited, or they made an announcement recently. Let me see if I can find it. Here they claim their claim to fame right now is that they say they completed an unprecedented 10 million immigration cases in fiscal year 2023. I mean, I'm sure they have a report on that. I haven't clicked on it, but 10 million is quite a bit. So, but I imagine that's not just marriage cases. Alrighty. All right. Let's see. Now answer next question. Yeah, happy to answer your comment or question, Therese. um, Terezi, because some people may just need a little more context on the situation. Alrighty. All right, let me go on here on TikTok. How y'all doing today? I need to try to. I was thinking try to join earlier. By the way, do y'all prefer like in the morning time, lunchtime, or well, y'all on right now, so I guess it doesn't matter. I've tried to join a few times in the evening. Okay, Abel. Abel on TikTok ask, is asylum ban implemented? Um, Asylum's not going to be banned. I mean, there been some talk about restrictions, um, but there's not going to be a ban. There will be a much more larger uproar if that was the case. Let's see. What? Okay, so you're inside. Thanks for the context. Yolan Flove 9. Inside USA, what happens next after second interview for I-130? Second interview? What's going on with that? Why do you have two interviews? Do you have usually when there's one interview just for I-130? That's because one of you have a case in court, immigration proceedings. But if you don't, then that's interesting. Did you file a 485? Yolan Flove 9? All right, that'll be my follow-up question to you. But in general, I mean, I have to ask a question to answer your question. Sorry, I need more information. Thanks for joining. If you want, I'm not as quick today because I'm still coughing, and that's why I couldn't really go on live that often last week. But if you enjoy the way I share information, please give us a follow on your respective platform. Okay, LOL with a is that the Jamaican flag? Okay, what does administrative process mean? You apply for a visitor visa, and I guess that's what you have strong ties and you got that. So unfortunately, I don't know why. I think there's a misconception. Well, let me answer this first. Administrative processing. Okay. It means you're in a black hole. Okay. Essentially, there's no timetable when the State Department or your consulate embassy is going to move your case back to have your visa issued. So even though it may say like visa refused for some people, it doesn't always mean necessarily mean like denied. It won't actually ever say denied. So it's very frustrating. So even when the government or officer asks or emails you or asks you in person, hey, I'm going to send you an email for some information, let's say like DS 5535 form or any other document, um, then that's a good sign in the sense that your case is not visa denied, at least, right? But it sucks. It sucks. No one wants to have to go through this because you're basically in a black hole. Again, there's no timetable. Um, but more specifically, to you're saying strong ties in the U.S. I don't really don't think that matters because if anything, if I were an officer, I would think like, oh, you got strong ties to the U.S. That could mean that you're more likely to stay in the U.S. than not because you know people there, right? So think about that, right? Like I don't. Someone the other day asked me if like recommend to write a letter or something. Like, I don't think that's helpful. I don't think that has anything to do with anything, but I could be wrong. But but you got to think about it on the U.S. perspective, the government side. Let's see. Trying to go in order here. Okay, Emmanuel. You said please. You got an RFE for marriage green card. Was for medical only. They received it November 7th. What's next? First of all, I commend you for mailing it with a tracking, number or code, whatever, so you know that when they received it. Now, in terms of what's the next step, the next step, since you got an RFE, it's a formal RFE, and they asked you to mail something in like a medical. More likely than not, your interview will be waived. However, if they find something else out for some reason, they want to do a site visit. Doesn't happen for everyone. It's very rare, but it does happen. They could schedule you for interview. But now, for your more specific question, what's next, right? There's no timetable, unfortunately. There's no timetable when the government USCIS or your local field office is going to get back to you with a decision letter. Of course, hopefully with an approval. But I'll just hang tight. Now, it really focused on like some people ask us, well, John, I want to sue the government. Well, hold your horses. It depends when you filed your case because you mentioned you mailed it back around, they got it November 7th, but maybe you filed your case in general like September. That's too soon to file a lawsuit. Like if you filed at least 18 months ago, then we're ready to go to file a lawsuit for you. Okay. So it just depends a bit. All right. Thanks for the follow, folks. Appreciate it. And thank you so much for your trust to allow me to answer your questions. How long does it take to get travel document approved? Um, Generally, from the time you file, I would say at least 5 months minimum, at least. Even for some of the marriage cases, a few have been taking a lot longer than that were filed like in 20 before 2023. But it's ridiculous. So what you want to do if it's been that amount of time, you definitely want to see if you qualify for what we call expedite request. Now we have a free guide. You contact us, we'll send you the link or whatnot, we'll email you. But really, folks, expedite request is very rare to be approved, to be granted. Okay. So it's very specific because remember, this was created because of the pandemic. The pandemic doesn't exist anymore. And thank goodness they still have it available. But a lot of people think, like, oh, doesn't my situation qualify for this? I hope so. But usually, no, it does not. Let's see here. Okay. Is it a problem if your husband's last name is not on your marriage certificate? Yeah, what the hell a last name? My wife doesn't have my last name. What the hell with it? I mean, no, USCIS fortunately is up to speed on society that not everyone takes the spouse's last name. All right, Ree, so you're good to go. Now, keep in mind, if you did change your last name or you took up your spouse's last name, then if you haven't filled out the form yet, then you can put, other names. You can put your maiden name. But there's no, even with USCIS, when you file something and you want to use your spouse's last name, then you just do it. You don't have to, like, at least in Texas, you don't have to, like, formally change your name after you get married. I haven't heard about that requirement, but so if you're wondering about that and hesitant, you really think about, because yeah, a lot of people ask us this as well when they become a client of ours, is that what do we put on the form here as a name? And so we ask them, do you want to take your spouse's last name or not? If you don't have to. But think about this: when you get your actual resident card, okay, that's the name that's going to be on there, right? So whatever is a default name you want on the form or on the card, you need to put it on the form, not the section that says other names. Hopefully it's helpful to you. VYGG on TikTok. Do we do immigration bond? We accept very limited detained cases. And in fact, this is one of those um, special situation, I guess you could say, that it may be more or not more, much better if you have a lawyer that's closer to you, especially depending on the situation, right? But we're happy to chat with you to see if we can refer you to another lawyer, depending where you're at. Okay, YGG. But and because some courts around the country in the United States don't always have what we call virtual court hearings anymore. Some judges do, but not everyone. So get in contact us. Okay, YGG. Message us what city or detention center that your family member or friend is at. Let's see here. Thanks so much for your patience. I'm really trying to go one by one. I may have skipped a couple people on accident. Okay, Esmeralda, does a denied AP affect the outcome of 485? No, it does not necessarily. We've had a situation recently in the past year where they denied our 131, and that's because they claim our client left the United States, which makes no sense. We wouldn't encourage that, of course, without AP. And they claim that our client re entered without a visa, which again makes no sense when they have an attorney. So, and our client told us the truth. We verified with that. So, the long story short, no, denied AP does not necessarily affect your 45 negatively, unless, of course, like in my client situation, they had what we call mistaken identity, which is difficult to prove. EAD was approved. Okay, good for you. Glad to hear. On YouTube, hey Netra, good to see you. Let me know if you have a question. You're welcome, Danny. And let me go back to IG here. If anyone has questions on IG, let me know. I'm just flipping around all these different platforms. All right, this is like a full time job. Just, I guess, what do you call that at the network studios? Like production manager? Yeah, I'm basically doing that at the same time. All right, Ricardo, you came to the US with visa from Portugal. Can you apply for green card? Oh, um, depends on your situation. Are you based on what kind of visa did you come in? Like L1, for example. You're in Illinois. Um, let me know. Let us know more detail on your situation. And possibly, if you came here in L1, maybe you're based on like employment. Hey, Flocka, if you're still on, I was thinking about you the other day. We need a chat. I need to follow up with you. All right, let's see. Send me your calendar if you're still on. All right. All right. So Nani non-key Quar on TikTok. Can you petition for your parents if you got denied if they didn't claim a child that's sponsoring them on past DS 160? Um So, ooh, that could be it's possible, but are they in the U.S. right now or not? Eventually, you may need to be ready to file a 601 waive application for a waiver or misrepresentation, waiving the misrepresentation. Um, were you even was a child even born at that time when they filled out the DS 160? The thing is, a child, like if you're asking on behalf of your parents, adult child is not a qualifying relative for a waiver. So that is the difficulty. I mean, it just depends on the scenarios. So if you ask us for a free guide on that, we'll send it to you because very limited scenarios where adult child can be a qualifying relative for a waiver. So I need to double check on that for you. But send us a DM so remember. Okay, let's see. All right, Miss Toos on TikTok. If a 19-year-old overstayed on his visa, can a parent? Let's see. Let's see what you're saying. Can a parent? Is a parent is going to file for him? Can he adjust status? Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, that's considered immediate relative. So assuming there's a parent-child relationship there, that child can overstay, but that parent needs to file for that 19-year-old a ASAP because the cutoff time is 21 years old when is what we call immediate relative. If that 19-year-old becomes over 21 and that's the person your parents trying to sponsor, that's not immediate relative anymore. That's going to be family preference, and that's going to require a waiver in the future. So yeah, you prefer not to do that because that's going to, as of the processing times right now for waiver, that's going to extend it another 4 years. So really gotta take action. Give us a call. Fill out our form. If by the way, this is a good time to mention if you're interested to for a strategy session with one of the attorneys, this is how you do it. I thought I could find the clip here. Oh, there you go. Okay, go to our website, greencardguys.com. Scroll down a bit, select probably number one option, click on verify now. Just answer a few questions there, and then it's going to redirect you to our calendar to schedule. All right. Now, folks, when you schedule, make sure to pick a time that you're actually available because we have had a situation where some people no show and it just discourages us. We're really trying to, if anything, trying to point you in the right direction and really not trying to require a fee. But if this continues, a couple of people a week don't show up, we're going to have to charge a fee for this meeting. But right now, it's no cost to you. Okay. um, All right, y'all. Some of y'all you really don't have to like copy and paste your questions. I'm trying to go in order. So when you copy and paste, it actually discouraged me to answer your question. So just leave it there one time. I'm trying to go in order. All right. Can I answer your Well, what is your question? You apply for K1 and how long will it prove? Is that your question? I need to know more. Dumar. Okay. There's so many steps, especially on a K1. Um, And you said you apply. I don't know if that means past tense or present tense in your situation. I need to know more information, okay? So, let me go back. Okay, Khalil. 485 got approved, but 131 is pending for 14 months based on asylum. Um, well, if your 45 got approved, then you don't need the 131 anymore. You don't need the advanced parole. Um, does that help? I hope so. Okay, so if people have a pending case in general, like a pending 45, then yeah, you prefer the 131 travel document advance parole approved before then. But if your 45 got approved, that means you got approved for residency. So, and if you haven't received the resident card yet, I mean, give it about like 3 weeks to a month, but you still haven't received it, then something could be up. So make sure you have the correct address. with USCIS at all times, not just when you're approved. Okay, Trish678. Let's see. What happens if you are an immigrant with 10 years green card, but you stayed in the Philippines for 2 years? That's not good. Okay, so especially if you have, I'm assuming you don't have the reentry permit, the 131. Okay, so 131 form is used for multiple situations, scenarios, but it's all related to travel. Okay, so if you, I mean, better to talk one on one on this, but essentially, some people apply for the SB1 returning resident visa with the Department of State, and most people get denied. So let's be ready with this. Whether you decide to apply for SB1 again or just show up at the any US airport, you need to have proof essentially to substantiate why you were in the Philippines or why you were outside US for so long, even if it's more than 6 months. Okay. 6 months is really the cutoff time to show without any documentation to show that you did not abandon your resident status. Folks, it takes a lot of y'all a long journey to get to the point for residency. So if you have no idea what to do at different stages of your legal status in America, please contact us. We feel much better. Okay, you're not bothering us. Don't worry. Um, just send us a message, something, so that way you have the right information to so you can prevent this situation because I really feel bad. Because at this point, if you say something like, if you tell the State Department officer, visa officer, or you're at the airport and you tell customs, like, oh, I was out because of COVID or because of pandemic specifically, the officer would be like, bro, it's 2024. Like, what are you talking about? The pandemic was like so 2020. That was like 3 or 4 years ago. Right. So think about that. Okay. And also, I know some people have told me, like, um, what do they say? They said that my job requires me to be in the US. I mean, be outside the US. The officer again does not care, does not give a flip. Okay. Um, if anything, they could say, look, there's plenty of jobs in America. Just apply for another job. This the law is the law. So please don't waste a flight thinking that you're just gonna tell officer my job required me to be outside. Because you just have to have the right proper expectations. I would hate for you to pay if you're going to do that. At least wait until the airfare is lower, if budget is a concern, of course. Anyways, let me answer a question over here on Instagram. All right, greatness baby, what's going on? You said when a case is transferred to another office and it has a jurisdiction on your case, what does that mean? Um, Good afternoon to you. It typically means that whichever office it was at before, it was they're just managing their caseload. I think that you might usually even have a line about that. It's like we're just managing caseload, sort of transferring from this office to another or service center, um, essentially to make sure that personnel to look over your case. Now, keep in mind, this does not mean that as soon as your case is transferred to another office that you're going to get a decision next week. That would be awesome. That would be wonderful. But that's not reality. Excuse me. All right. So on to YouTube. All right. Netra on YouTube. You came to US in 2007, filed for asylum in '09. Immigration judge put a removal order in 2011. You appealed it, got denied in 2012. Same year, appealed the First Circuit, also denied. What now was your situation? So now I'm wondering, Netra, why did you appeal it so many times? Did you actually believe you had now more power to you, right? So because some people ask us, should I appeal? Should I take it to the next level? It depends on your situation. Okay. Depends on your situation if the law exists to support your appeal. If the law does not exist to support your appeal, we let people know, right? But that also requires a certain deposit, to be honest, because it takes time to research. I think that's something that most people don't understand. Like, it'd be great if I could just answer your question quickly, but um, Netra, I don't know, like your situation, I don't know. Your lawyer suggests you do so. So yeah, I mean, our perspective is different because even if there was no case law, but you want to fight it, and we think like we could change policy, then suing the government, for example, is a way of changing policy. That is like the preferred way. Otherwise, it's Congress, and obviously we can't depend on them. So, so not trying to say your lawyer did something wrong, but if by now, at any rate, at this point, what's your situation now? I mean, it's either wait for Congress to change something for your benefit, or I don't like to say this last option, but most lawyers would say get married to a US citizen, but I mean, if other than that, you got no other option. Okay. I hate to say. Or unless you're from a country that, for example, like let me see if I can share my screen again. Um, like I know recently the USAS is now allowing DED, deferred enforced departure, for Palestinians, meaning you get a work permit for 18 months for eligible Palestinians. So that's obviously like I don't want to say random situation, but obviously because of the attacks um, in Gaza, that's something that no one thought was going to happen. Um, but at the end of the day, that's option for some people, a temporary option. Okay, Netra, you also said you called the EOIR hotline and said your case is dismissed in 2012. Well, I don't know what that means. Well, when someone says dismissed, that's usually a good thing. So you don't have to call the hotline if you want to verify for sure. Okay, Netra, since you're on YouTube, I can share this website much more easily. Okay, I'm gonna share this link for you. Go, Netra, go to this link that I just shared. Hopefully, it should pop through. And let me know, okay? Or you can check it out. If it truly says dismissed, then that's a good thing for you, okay? Um, but at the end of the day, like, are you eligible for something? No, unless you get married to a U.S. citizen, then that's your green light. But especially if your court case dismissed. Now, if it wasn't dismissed, then it would say order removal. All right, back to TikTok. All right, folks, thanks so much for the follow and subscribing. If I don't answer your question, please know I will be back on live tomorrow. I hope so. Oh, fandom is Lee or fandom Lizzie. Trying to pronounce it correctly. You asked what are the chances of J1 visa getting approved for exceptional hardship waiver? I think you mean like getting approved for an exception, not necessarily the waiver. I mean, not necessarily the visa itself. It's definitely possible. Depends on your situation, of course. Everyone's facts are different. Um, I mean, someone apply for a I need to say this out loud. Someone apply for a waiver on their own, of course, don't understand the requirements, and just said that their pet was going to suffer hardship. Look, folks, look, if you're not going to hire a lawyer, at least read the instructions. A pet is not a qualifying relative. It needs to be a human, first of all. Okay. So, that was a long time ago. I think a couple years ago, someone mentioned that to me. And the thing is, folks, we have really high success rate for waivers as we have a guideline for clients. It's not just a one paragraph thing. Some people, we ask them, hey, can you share with us what you sent in? Especially if you have a lawyer. Just because we may know you have a lawyer in the past or right now, it's helpful to know what was sent in. So if you have a lawyer now and you have no copy of anything, ask them. You're a client. So I'm not trying to go on a long rant there, but just know this. If you're applying for yourself for a waiver, one paragraph or one page is not enough. There's no way to provide detailed information on that. Okay. Um, okay, it looks like a couple of people asked. I'm not sure same person. Someone asked, can religious worker be eligible for portability of American Century, I think it's called, AC 21. I don't know off the top of my head. That's something you have to call in, um, schedule a meeting for. I don't know off the top of my head. But in general, I mean, for anything EB related, you're portable. But I don't know about an accept if there's a restriction on religious workers. That'd be ridiculous if there was a restriction on religious workers on that. But you asked it pretty specifically, so that makes me want to check, of course. And I'm not gonna have the time of day right now to check offhand, to be honest. So something I don't know. But thank you so much for your question. All right. Let me go scroll back down here. Thank you so much for your questions. Of course, I'm only going to answer questions I know the answer to. I'm not going to guess. Okay. If I guess, educated guess based on experience, I will let you know if I'm not too sure about something and requires more time. So there's no reason for me to make stuff up. Doesn't make sense. Which leads me to mention this. Okay. Some of y'all get contacted by people and you're like, is this a lawyer or not? Um, check me out, okay? Check out my law firm because you might question me too, and that's all good. You should question who you're considering as a lawyer, especially when you're getting information like this, because I'm supposed to tell you this is not advice. This is information to help guide you, if anything, but not advice as a one-on-one. You need to schedule a strategy meeting one-on-one, okay? I'm supposed to say that. So anyway, we do have a law firm, physical office, I mean, in Houston, Texas. I have Google profiles in Dallas and Houston. Okay. We have over 300 5-star reviews. So please check it out if you're considering our service. And now my stomach is crumbling. Okay. Miguel, you came here on a visitor visa. Why can I not pin that? Thanks for the follow, folks. I really appreciate it. I don't know why I couldn't pin that comment. Someone asked. Well, now I lost it. Pin it. Okay, now it's pinned. Well, it's someone else. Okay, Juana, your mother got arrested at the border using. Ooh. I don't like this for your mom. Got arrested at the border using U.S. citizen documents. Can her status be adjusted? When you say U.S. citizen documents, like someone else's documents, um, the first thing that comes to mind is false claim to U.S. citizenship, and that is a dagger. That is a permanent bar. Okay, Juana. So your mom probably knows that. If there's anyone else that's outside the United States right now and you're thinking about using someone else's documents, like a passport, please, please don't do it. Okay. Because if you get picked up and the officer can tell very quickly if that's you or not without even having to take fingerprints, that's not a good thing. Okay. That's a permanent bar, first of all. So no, you cannot apply for an immigration benefit afterwards. Okay, Juana, for your mom. There's a very limited scenario, a legal exception for that. I believe that's something related to like if your parents brought you here and you were under 16 and you didn't know, uh, but your mom as an adult, definitely that's not going to fly. Okay. Okay, Stephanie. If someone worked remote in the UK but lived here in the US, do they have to disclose that? Um, in general, I think I understand what you're trying to say, Stephanie. You got to pay your taxes in the US. You got to report them, even if you're working for a UK company, even if you're living in the UK or living in any other country and earn income and you're a US citizen, you have to pay US taxes. Okay, so yeah, you do have to disclose that. But I'm not a tax lawyer, so I don't know if that has anything to do about immigration law, right? If that's what your question is getting to. Um, maybe you're considering to sponsor someone, so you're trying to get the taxes done correctly. Yeah, that's there's a law behind that. Foreign something FCTA or something like that. FCTRA. I'm just making it up right now, but there is a law talking about why, or not why, but telling US citizens to still pay taxes even if you live abroad or work for a different company abroad. Okay, thank you so much for your questions. But if you need a tax lawyer or accountant, I know plenty. I can refer you to them if you just want to triple check. Okay, Lati, I think I remember your comment from before about medical. You sent in medical requests, but your progress increased as it was received. So some people, okay, folks, on your My USCIS account online, please do not pay attention to what it says. Like, I don't even know what it says. Deadline, not deadline, but timeline, expectation of next step. Look, it's bullshit, okay? It's BS. Just call it fake, okay? Especially for y'all that say news is fake, just call it fake, okay? I don't like saying something fake news. I just like to say it's correct, true or false. But anyway, um, but yeah, it's fake. It's not real. It's just they're just making it up, and I don't know how they come up with this algorithm. In fact, I don't even know if it's an algorithm at all. They're just making stuff up. So, and I mean, I don't have something on paper that says that USCIS representative told me that, but that's what they told me. Okay. They're basically frustrated. People called in and say, what the hell is this? Like, says 2 weeks, but now says 2 months. There's no rhyme or reason. I don't know why they're doing that because it's frustrating everyone. They're trying their best. Clearly, it's not good enough. KN on TikTok, what's up? Your what's the average on how long after combo card approved does 485 get approved? There's no set timetable on that. I hate to say. I wish I had the answer. I'm more able to answer questions on timeline based on filing date, not in the middle of the case per se until end date. That's way more unpredictable. Okay, Whale on TikTok. You just got scheduled for 45 interviews 6 months after applying. No EAD yet. Is that normal? Yeah, it is still normal to get interviews scheduled. That's not a bad thing. But please know if they're going to schedule you in the time period of when some people are getting their interviews waived, again, it's not a bad thing. But number two, you definitely need to have updated evidence. Okay. So let's say you had a joint bank account and 6 months ago, you said you provided like a couple statements, joint bank accounts, bank statements from before that, right? Well, now you need to provide anything from 6 months ago until present time of when you have the interview, those new updated bank statements. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea. So basically, do not go into the interview empty handed with only your interview notice because literally, interview notice asks you to bring certain updated evidence anyway. Okay, but it's not a bad thing. Okay, don't be scared. But if you want legal representation, uh, you want peace of mind, give us a call. Okay, folks on Instagram are a bit shy today, but let me switch over to TikTok here. All right, Marie Chris. All right, what happens when a 45 is denied? What's the best thing to do? Contact a lawyer, maybe us if you want to, one-on-one, please for us. You go to our website greencardguys.com, answer a few questions, upload that denial letter, okay? So we can read it because that would save a lot of time. If you want advice, of course, during your session from a lawyer, one of our premier lawyers, real time, please provide the denial letter so we understand if you should refile your case completely or file a 290B motion to reconsider. All righty. Imani, if you apply for asylum after 1 year, will they call you for interview? As far as I know, they will still call you for interview, and any legal issue about the 1 year rule will be discussed at the interview. So if you have that situation, I definitely encourage you to have a lawyer to argue, advocate um, for your case, especially if you actually have facts that can support the 1 year exception, which is a limited exception. Navdeep Singh on TikTok. How many times can you travel on green card in a year? There is no limit on the number of times. It's more about cumulatively in a calendar year, how long have you traveled? Which is the cutoff is 6 months. Of course, you could be outside more than 6 months, but then if you have an inkling of an idea, then that could happen. Then you apply for the 131 reentry permit, which is valid for 2 years. Let's see. Okay, re asked, what are the different forms to start the filing process? I would love to tell you, but I don't know exactly what you're applying for, and TikTok is not really the place to share exactly all the forms because there can be a lot. I think for like applying for marriage-based residency, for example, there's like 8 different forms. So, but if y'all are interested in something like that, I would have to create like a sister company and not through the law firm to explain some things like that. But that's not my priority right now. I got a lot of things to work with. um, what are the chances of Denise on TikTok? What are the chances of K1 visa being approved if you've been married for 8 years and have children? Um, are you saying because you have children that should be stronger? Um, what do you mean? So K1 is not for married people unless you're applying for K3, right? It's the same application that I-129F. Okay, same application as K1, but do you mean K3? Yeah, you could be approved. Like so, we have clients that file for I-130, but then also file for I-129 afterwards, just because they want the best chances possible to make it a little faster. Um, the key difference is if the K3 is interview scheduled sooner, approved sooner, and scheduled sooner, then upon entry in the United States, you still have to apply for adjustment of status. That's a huge, big step that some people may forget about. Thank you so much for your questions. I'll try to stay on for another 5 minutes to answer questions. Let me hop over to Instagram. Someone asked, Donna Abrams asked, what happens if I-131 denied? I mean, that doesn't necessarily affect your 45 application, but I mean, they could use that information that the reason they denied your I-131 could be a reason that also affects your 485. So you may want to contact an attorney to understand your situation better. But does that automatically say that your 45 will be denied? No, not necessarily. Okay, T Flores, what's the next step for Consulate EB3 after sending your DS-260? If it's not asking for any other documents, well, first thing is look at the priority date on the visa bulletin to see if chart A, since it sounds like you're abroad, I get the feeling, then you have to rely on chart A. So don't expect an interview to happen a date before the priority date if it hasn't reached on the visa bulletin. So hopefully that's helpful to you. So I hate to say like sit tight, but that seems like if any scenario in your situation, T Flores, that is basically a waiting game right now. Alrighty, how y'all doing today? Thank you so much for your trust. Um, E, do I have a bar card? Yes, I have a bar card. It's in my wallet at all times. Because you never know when I get pulled over by a cop. You know damn straight I'm going to pull my bar card if need be. But of course, I'm going to tell a cop, hey, officer, can I reach my wallet? Because I ain't going to be shot, okay? These days, you just never know what kind of cop you're going to come across. I have friends who are cops, fraternity brothers who are cops. Everyone's on edge these days. So I'm going to let people know what I'm about to do or ask for permission. I don't know how I got to that part, but yeah, that's the thing, folks. I realize, especially y'all have not lived in the U.S. before. You're not really up to date on what's going on in America. I really feel like, in addition to like a driver's education course, there needs to be a course about like how to deal with cops. I think that would be good. Like, and that should be free, obviously. Um, Man, there's just so much to know. I would just hate for someone, especially if they're new to the country. I have no idea what's going on and get freaking shot. I I pray to God that doesn't happen to anyone. I know I'm a little bit morbid. I think too far in the future, but all right. Okay, drip too hard. Drip too hard. Okay. I'm not gonna guess what that means, but you got a 765 C9 standalone approval. Congrats, but no update about on the system. How long do you receive it? The actual card, you mean? I mean, it's usually like up to 3 weeks usually. Um, it does. I don't believe for 765 online that I don't believe it will actually tell you like the mailing receipt number. When people get approved for residency, they tend to provide the USPS tracking number. But I don't believe they do that for 765. So if that's what you're asking about the actual card. All right. Let's see here. Stephanie, does he need a report to immigration? So I don't know who you're talking about. You're talking about your spouse, it sounds like. But I don't know. Maybe there's another comment. Are you talking about yourself? Like, who is the citizen? Because I mean, even people who are not residents or citizens still technically have to pay taxes. That's what the law says. So, um, yeah, it is about immigration. So, but in general, if it's specific to immigration, of course, the immigration case filing, if the person you're talking about, you say he is not a U.S. citizen, technically, you don't. Not saying I'm not giving you like a waiver or something. I'm not the Congress, right, or IRS, but at least for immigration, who if the person, the beneficiary, is getting paid from a UK company, then you don't the beneficiary does not have to provide taxes for adjustment of status case. Now, of course, if you've been married for at least a year, and by this point you filed together, then he's gonna be on the taxes, right? So oh, I see your follow comment. Okay, you say you are sponsoring. He's here in the US but work for a company in UK. Well, yeah, okay, so yeah, that makes sense. Does he need to disclose that? Um, so on the application 45 has questions about employment. So I mean, lawyers are always about telling the truth, right? I mean, I would hope so, but there's no reason to not share that. Okay. Now, if on the application, let's say your spouse is like, no, no, I don't want to pay taxes. What the hell with John? Whatever he said. You know, like if you just still, I would still update the application 45 because it's, I've never had the situation. I've never had it, but knock on wood, not saying it could not happen in your situation, but never had a USCIS officer look at the paperwork and say, "Oh, I see you've been working at the for a UK company. Show me your taxes." Like they don't have time for that. Okay, they're moving on. They're like, "Okay, great, congratulations, moving on." They might not even bring it up. So I don't know if that helps you, but um, hopefully it gives you a little peace of mind. Alrighty. All right, a couple more questions here. Lorraine, can you file an I-130 for your spouse while you sort out your citizenship? Yes, you could file as a resident, but I do not recommend file a 485 because the visa bulletin is backlogged even for the F2A category. So there's no incentive unless your spouse has maintained status. If your spouse is here with like a J1 or other type of non-immigrant visa like L1, then sure, you could do that. Alrighty. Let's see here. Okay, Mohammed Ahmed. After attending your N336 request for rehearing, I wouldn't call it appeal. It's more of a rehearing, even though it's basically a kind of like an appeal. How long until they send you a letter of their decision? Well, let's see here. Let me pull it up if I can find it. Um, I can't remember exactly on if they mention it. Okay, I'm sharing my screen on TikTok or YouTube and Facebook. The first thing about timeline it does say they're supposed to schedule you for hearing within 180 days of request. So make an assumption that happened for you. Fortunately, sometimes I don't always follow that. But then I want to see if it mentions anything about up like a timing to update you a decision. As far as I see it here on the USCIS policy manual, it doesn't say anything about when to actually let you know the decision, which is ridiculous. But it does say judicial review. A naturalization applicant may request judicial review, meaning AKA lawsuit, before a U.S. district court of their denied application. So, okay, if you've been denied after the fact, it doesn't tell you timing, but you can sue the government. Yes, that is correct. Okay. um, Nita, I don't think I understand your question. Can you change a person to another person to come to the U.S.? Do you mean status? Okay, Gata Luvgen. You filed an I-130 for a sibling in 2012. It's outside normal processing time. Hell yeah, it is. They take a long time. So you got to rely on the visa bulletin, okay? Gotta Luvgen, which country is your sister a national of? I'm pulling up the visa bulletin so I can share with you. Now, most people think, oh, the I-130 is taking a hell of a long time to get approved. Usually it doesn't matter. If your family preference, the petition processing time does not matter. In fact, especially if your sibling or loved one in family preference category has children, you actually want it to take longer because based on the Child Status Protection Act calculation, you want the petition to be pending longer if you want to lock in, secure the under 21 for your their nieces and nephews. Okay, so on Facebook, YouTube, I'm sharing my screen here. Um, looking at final action date, chart A, assuming your sister is abroad, and I don't know which country, but let me just assume all chargeable areas, the left column. So meaning not China, not India, not Mexico, or the Philippines. F4, they're working on cases that had a priority date on your petition, June 2007. So that was about that's more than 12 years. So they're probably not working on your case quite yet. 12 years ago for you, Guadalupe is about, oh wait, you said 2012. Okay, so yeah, you're still waiting about 5 years. You didn't say 12 years, you meant 2012. So yeah, it's about 4 to 5 years still waiting. Okay. So even if petition's still pending, it doesn't matter. Just sharing that. I mean, it does matter, but I mean, it's not something to be frustrated about, is what I'm trying to say. All righty. Netra, back to you on YouTube. You said you have TPS now. Okay, great. Since 2015. Trying to get a perm labor cert through employment. You don't know what happens now. So here's the deal, Netra. So ultimately, I need to verify your background again. I know you mentioned something about court order possibly dismissed. Um, but even if you were here, oh shoot. What the heck? That's interesting. So TikTok just gave me a little puzzle that was said if I don't solve this puzzle, it's going to end the live show. That's interesting. Never had that happen. Anyway, Netra, this is a bit of a more complex scenario. Happy to talk about it as succinctly as I can right here in the live show. But basically, you're more likely to, of course, you need to verify with Immigration Lawyer 101, more likely need to consular process eventually, which, if you're going to have to consular process, you need to apply for waiver and hopefully you're eligible for that. All right, Michael. Concerning Georgia bill, can you be arrested and detained if you have a T visa or viable case pending? So I don't know what the Georgia bill is, but I'm assuming it's safe assumption it's probably something similar to Texas. Since I'm in Texas, I'm more, of course, staying tuned with Texas. Um, I don't think it matters. Okay, Michael. Unfortunately, in the sense that I don't think even if you have a T visa, I don't think law enforcement's going to ask those kind of detailed questions like, "Oh, by the way, I'm about to arrest you, but do you have a TV or VAWA? I don't think it's going to work that way. They're either going to arrest you or not. And at least in Texas, even though we're a conservative state, and I know I have to share all this that I shared earlier today, most officers I know are not going to spend time and ask your immigration status. Okay, they don't got time for that. But you never know when you run into conservative county or town that an officer can still arrest you, and that's more likely the scenario, not a local like urban area. They don't got time for that. There's plenty of other stuff going on that they're not even enforcing, like theft from a retail store. So I hope that gives you a little context. If anything, like if someone was arrested in Georgia or Texas or any other conservative state that has similar laws, unfortunately, you just have to show proof after the fact. Unfortunately, but yeah, I just don't think you could be like, "Hold up, officer, I got T visa." Okay, so but ultimately, like if let's say if a person was gonna hypothetical person was detained and then by a local police officer, sheriff department, and then transferred to ICE, then at that point with ICE, that's when an attorney could help encourage ICE to say, "Hey, you got to release this. This fits the circumstance to release this person." So it sucks that someone has to go through this hoopla for these stupid laws. Oops, did I say that out loud? Okay. Okay, now on TikTok, if you are a US citizen, can you adjust your kid's status who is already in US and 21? Yes, you can if you file before they're 21 and if they enter America legally with a visa. Otherwise, no, cannot, unless they qualify for exception like special immigrant juvenile visa. Alrighty. Um, by the way, folks, especially on TikTok, y'all tend to copy and paste your questions. You really don't need to, because when you do that, it actually discourages me. Because then it makes me scroll down even longer. Okay. Let's see. By the way, folks, if you appreciate the way I share information here, please give us a follow. Tap the screen a bit, like 2 seconds. Hit the likes or whatever you call it. It really helps our algorithm for some reason. I don't know all that stuff. All right. Yeah, see, I just keep scrolling because then I might miss someone on accident. Okay, got one question here. Lilia on TikTok, would you be able to get an emergency AP to travel to Guatemala? Being with you being from Mexico. I've never tried to be honest from to travel to a different country that you're not a national of, but AP is not restrictive. I don't know if I've never tried, but AP is not restrictive to your travel to your country of nationality. Whatever the reason is, that reason depends on the country, right? It's not necessarily the country of nationality. So it should be fine, but you got to provide some kind of proof. Um, Shahzab, Shahzab on TikTok. Do I refer out or help with cases where I-130 or consular processing that needs assistance with taxes? So I think you're talking about the stage with documentarily trying to get documented qualified DQ'd with uploading those documents. Yeah, we do help with that situation in the middle of the case. We do help with that. So you're welcome to contact us. Thank you for asking. We even help with cases where people receive a request for evidence, like whether you had a lawyer or not in the beginning, but you're like, screw that guy, that person, bad service, want to talk to us. We help with those scenarios as well, like request for evidence or notice of intent to deny. Ty Manche, yeah, it's the I-130 online. My USCIS account it's not accurate. I wouldn't even if it's short or long. I just wouldn't pay attention to it. You said your case online said 2 weeks to 7 months for the second time. Is that normal? Yeah, it's normal to be wrong. Unfortunately, for USCIS, my USCIS account. Alrighty, folks. Thank you so much for your questions. I really appreciate it. I have to hop off. Time to grab some grub. I don't know about y'all. Is it lunchtime for y'all? All right. Really appreciate it. If you want to contact us, go to greencardguys.com. I try to put it up there, but I think on TikTok it shows it backwards. Great, obviously. All right. Y'all have a good one. See y'all tomorrow.